He will pull me towards that promise. And that is one of the big things of a promise, is that if God gives you a word, a promise, that in that promise, there is the ability to fulfill that. This video and a series that follows is a series that I'm doing more for my own benefit to help me understand myself better. And as you watch and go along this journey, hopefully it will help you as well. But more importantly, thank you for joining me along this journey. This week, I started writing a script that I had started several weeks back, and I really had difficulty connecting with the script and figuring out what to say. I felt very stuck. My emotions told me to run away. I felt very terrified, very panicked. It was very difficult to wrap my mind around what it was that I was feeling, what it was that I was going through. I'm going to walk you through some insights I gained this last week to be able to put content out, to be able to, more importantly, follow what God has called me to do. First, I need to take you back. About a month ago, my wife and I, we live in Colombia. We are stationed in a city about 5 hours outside of the capital. We needed to do some medical treatments and do some paperwork in Bogotá, and that is where the story starts. We arrive in Bogotá, we settle into our tiny little Airbnb, get situated, everything is seeming to go really well. I brought all my recording equipment, I had set everything up, I even got another tripod to put the light on. The next day, after settling in, I woke up with great enthusiasm and began to record a script, began to type out the different ideas of what I wanted to say in the next video. Really was excited. I felt like that script was really coming together. Everything was on track. Later on in that same day, I decided to take a break to cook food for us and to get some shopping done. I woke up the next day and realized that my energy was really limited. I was really down and I didn't really understand why. I tried to re-engage with writing the script, but all I could really do was prepare the meals for the day, clean up a little bit, take a nap in the afternoon, and go through this daily routine. What now I learned was correlated to altitude sickness. Bogotá is 2,600 meters or 8,000 feet above sea level. The first few days when we were there, we didn't really struggle that much, but soon the fatigue and the weariness that settles in from altitude sickness, I didn't realize it that first week. But in that first week, we really prayed and we really were hearing from God, and God kind of said, focus on what you're here in Bogota to do. Focus on your paperwork, focus on getting your visa, focus on the medical treatments that Alyssa was doing, and really double down and pray and really focus on this season and set aside the writing of scripts and creating videos. I felt a lot of peace in that decision and realized afterwards that it was really God's grace speaking to us because of the altitude sickness, because of all of the challenges that we were facing, that it was really His grace to be able to just let us get through this season and do what we needed to do. And it was really, really a gift that God had given us. How that connects to now. We returned from Bogotá about a week ago, and I realized that I needed to get back into creating videos, and that's where I really began to see my heart and see the struggles that I began to face of handling my emotions and my thoughts and everything that I needed to do. One of the things that I did is I asked ChatGPT, what is advice to do to get me out of this stuck feeling, this place that I was in? It gave me things like break tasks down into simpler steps, setting timers, doing a lot of things that are really cliche and helpful, but for me, they were not helpful at all. That first day, we spent a couple hours talking and really working through some of the emotions that I was feeling, some of the thoughts, and really wrestling with this idea of what it is that I need and what it is that God is telling me to get me through this place of really feeling stuck and paralyzed, and what it is that He is guiding me into. One of the things that I've heard and that has been given to me throughout this whole journey of my life is you just need to do it. You just need to buckle down. You just need to get in front of whatever it is that you need to do and get it done. set your emotions aside and really plug in and connect with what you're doing. Unfortunately, for creating videos, if you set your emotions aside and set your heart aside, you don't really have anything to offer, because everything about creating videos, everything about connecting with you guys is about connecting with my heart and connecting with emotions and really building this environment that allows for creativity to really flourish. Having these challenge really has put me in a place where I have to get through that challenge to be able to share and to be able to get to this place. So that's where I started about a week ago to go along this journey of figuring out how do you wrestle with these emotions of being stuck. ChatGTP wasn't helpful. Advice that I received previously wasn't really helpful. I needed new tools to get me working through what it was that I was feeling, what it is that I was facing, and get me to a place where I could be sincere, where I could really present myself. One of the first lessons I learned was that different people need different amount of time to transition from one form of work or from one activity to another. My wife, she needs a lot less time, and I need a little bit more time to transition from not creating a video to writing a script. I need more time to process, to talk, and to take some period of time that's actually transition. That can be a day or a few hours, or it can be longer or shorter depending on who you are and what you're transitioning from, but to really give myself permission to transition, to give myself the time period to allow my emotions to adjust, to allow my mind to adjust, to really be able to go from one activity into the other was a really big secret that I uncovered throughout this last week. I think there's more that I'm going to unpack about this season of transition in the videos to come. We also recognize that there's a very different mindset and a different approach when you are taking a day of rest versus a day of transition. And I'm going to go into that as well, of what is the difference between days where you're resting and really refreshing yourself versus days where you're transitioning, where you're maybe not doing what you are called to do, but you're moving in that direction, and really unpack that. Next thing I did was I began to listen to some sermons, listen to some content about what it is that happens throughout this whole process. And one of those really highlighted something incredible to me. He said that you are either being pushed by your fears or being pulled by your promise. And I really took this to heart when I began to unpack what it was that I was feeling and really looked at, was it God's promise to create content and inspire and help people that was pulling me, or was I really being pushed by fears? So I started to outline my fears. What are those things that I'm fearing? One of the fears was that I don't have anything to say. Another one was that maybe nobody wants to hear what I do have to say. That maybe I'm not skilled enough or don't have enough of the tools yet figured out to be able to become a good communicator or become a good content creator. All of these fears are underlined by one main one, that I'm not enough to do what I need to do, that I'm not enough to meet the promises of God that He's given to me for my life. So as I looked at those fears and I said, okay, if this is what's pushing against my emotions, then how would I begin to be pulled by promise? And so I look at the fears and I look at God's promise of saying, you have something to share with the world, and began to say, help me be pulled by that promise. And the things that began to come out of that was, God will help me, give me a message to share. And He really gave me this whole series of saying, just don't go back to the video that you were creating, create something new and begin to share about this journey. I said, great, I can do that. That really answered the fear of what it is that I'm going to say. Really, all of the other ones being like, are you enough? Are you going to have enough time? Really, God saying, He will give me the time that I need and the skills that I need to get me where I need to go. And so really trusting Him to say, as I start at the quality that I'm at, He will pull me towards that promise. And that is one of the big things of a promise, is that if God gives you a word of promise, that in that promise, there is the ability to fulfill that. And so we just need to trust God that He will give us that ability to pull us towards that promise. So that process of going through my fears and looking at the promise and really wrestling with that idea, originally I thought would take me a day. Now it's been almost a week of me going through this dance of facing both the obligations that I have every day. There was different paperwork, different distractions that come up, my own fears, my own emotions that would come up as well, and really facing all of those things throughout each day, allowing each day to be a day of transition, saying, okay, today I moved one step closer to where God needed me to be, and giving God the ability to work in my heart, trusting that He was working, even though I wasn't doing anything directly moving me forward towards His promise. Trusting Him and moving myself closer to Him is really this part of transition that took me through this last week. And as I go through these next few videos, I'm going to keep unpacking this journey of what it means to really enter into the promises of God for my life. And hopefully you will get something out of it as well. Thank you again very much for watching this video. And I look forward to seeing where this journey takes us as I continue to explore these ideas.